Hello everyone, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make some makeshift arrows using nothing but knitting needles, a cell phone, and some copper wire. So first thing you're going to want to do is take the back off of your cell phone. We can just throw that away. We don't need this. You could use it for something else, but we're not going to use it today. Next, you're going to want to take all the screws out of the back of the phone. I've already done it, so you don't have to painstakingly watch me do it again. We're going to take the back off this, ignore these wires, they wouldn't normally be there. And then we're going to take the circuit board out, just rip the whole front off. We also don't need the screen, so we can just take our nails and put it under the screen and just rip this whole thing right off. We can also rip the metal sheet here behind the LCD screen off. We won't be using that today. Now you should have a nice looking circuit board from a cell phone, and we're going to be using the circuit board to make the arrowhead. So first thing you're going to want to do is come down right about the base, and we're just going to make a diagonal cut all the way up the center, right to the middle here, till about the highly populated area of the circuit board. And then we're going to do the same but from the other side until we have a nice sharp looking point. Something like this. It should look something like this roughly. Next we're going to come down to about the point where we started the cut, and we're going to make a diamond shape coming back over here like so. Before you do that though, you might want to take this battery charging port here and just snip that off, because we're not going to be needing that. It might get in the way. So then we're just going to make a diamond shape. We've got a nice completed diamond shape. We now have the basic frame for the arrowhead. Next we're going to be just using the scissors to sort of slice off any sticky uppy bits from the circuit board that might be populating the top and sticking out too far. After that we're going to make a couple of notches in the base behind the middle of the diamond point here. Just going to cut a couple of notches out, and this is going to be for the copper wire so that we can actually attach the arrowhead to the shaft, which is going to be made of the knitting needle. The thicker the knitting needle, probably the better, but right now I've got a pretty flimsy thin one, just to show you that you can do it with just about any size knitting needle. The thicker the shaft, up to a point of course, the more energy you're going to be able to transfer from the crossbow or bow into the projectile. So next we're going to want to take the knitting needle we've got here, and we've got the arrowhead, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to sync this up. So first thing you can do is snip the end off the back of the knitting needle. We won't be needing that in this particular instance, so I'm just going to go ahead and use the pliers to snip the end off there. Next we're going to want to put the flat side facing away from the base of the arrowhead, and we're just going to line the shaft up like so. If it's thick enough you can cut a groove and slot it up all nice, but we're not going to do that today. We're just going to line it up very roughly. Then we're going to take some copper wire, which you can find from just about any motor or other electronical item. Lots of things contain copper wire that you can use just basically as rope, slightly stronger than rope, although it has weaknesses. If you rub it, if you bend it back and forward too much, it will break. So we're going to wrap it around a few times, make a little knot with the copper wire so that we have a decent secured rod. And I've made two sets of notches here so that we will have a better grip on the shaft of the arrow here. So I've got one going up like this. And the first thing we're going to do is make two wraparounds in the two sets of notches using the copper wire. And that's going to secure it a little bit in one direction, and then we're going to also do a diagonal wrap between the two different sets of notches here, so that we have a slightly even more secure arrow shaft going up to here. And once we've done about, I'd say, a minimum of 5 turns in that direction, we can come back round and do another 5 in the opposite direction, so that we have the shape of a little box with an X in the middle is what we're going for here, to have a nice and secured arrow shaft that's not going to randomly come off without you wanting it to come off. Alright, so that's about done. Once we've done that, we can just wrap around. I would suggest wrapping the copper wire a few times directly around the shaft just to increase friction, and then continue to do a couple more wraps completely around. Maybe even do a few wraps around the base of the arrow shaft as well, so that it's really locked on there. You want it to get a nice grip. I'm just going to wind it like I would be winding an inductor until we've got a nice little copper thingy forming here. Then we can do a couple more wraps around the main shaft, and maybe we'll do one or two last diagonal wraps, and then we can end it up and snip the wire. Before we snip the wire, we're probably going to want to just run the wire back to the shaft, and we're just going to spin it around a few times, and then we'll snip it off there. And that is good enough for me. And we can just wrap this round. We can even just tie a little knot under the base here so that the wire stays in place, and it should be fine just wrapped around like so. Once we've done that, we have completed essentially what is a nice little pointy PCB skewer bolt for a crossbow, or I don't think this would really work with a bow. You'd have to use the proper shaft and make a bigger tip probably if you're going to use an actual bow. But you've got a nice little crossbow bolt there. And then to finish it all off, you can go ahead and add a little notch in the back of the knitting needle shaft here, so that you can lock it round the rope of a homemade crossbow or whatever you're using to launch it. I'm just going to split it like that so it splits apart a little bit, and that's how you make I guess you'd say crossbow bolts, arrows out of skewers and a cell phone. Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Goodbye.